So in this video, I'm going to show you how to annotate a text using the color code method as well as our annotation symbols. Okay, so we went over a color coding method. There are 6 things that we're looking for in the text, and we assign each one of the 6 things a color. So when you get a text, you want to go ahead and put your key at the top. So my character is going to be red, my plot is green, conflict is like a lighter blue, setting is a darker blue, flashback is pink, foreshadow is purple, and then I've added a mystery color. A mystery color is when I know this is something, but I just don't know what it is. Okay? And then of course my notes in the margin are going to be black as well. We also talked about using the close reading annotations, right? Which helps us read with a purpose. So vocabulary words or words we don't know, we're going to put a box around them. Things that we find to be important, we're going to put a star. If it's a big or main idea, we're going to underline it. If it's something I don't understand, question mark. If I've made a connection, I'm going to put some sort of linking sign or the infinity symbol. If I agree, I'm going to put a check mark or I'm going to put a plus sign. If I disagree, I'm going to put the minus sign or X. And something that's surprising, I'm going to use my exclamation mark. Okay, so this is a story that I have not pre-read, and so we're going to kind of discover and engage with the text together. Good readers always read and write together. Also, your brain should be asking thousands of questions while you're reading. So you're not just reading for information, you're reading for the experience. Let's see what it looks like. City or country, a mouse chooses. A fable. So now that I know that this is a fable, the first thing I know about fables is that they have a life lesson in there. So I'm going to go ahead and write life lesson equals, now I'm going to put a line because once I finish reading, I would want to go back and put what the life lesson is, okay? City or country, a mouse chooses. Well, I know these things are opposites, so I'm going to go ahead and label them as so. These are opposites. So one of them is going to be good, another one is going to be bad, but I just don't know which one the mouse is going to choose. It says, Jerome, a mouse who lived in the country, invited his cousin Don, a mouse who lived in the city, to visit him. So when you're reading and you're annotating and you're using your colors, try reading 1 or 2 sentences and then stopping. Never try to read the entire document and then go back. So we know that Jerome is a character and he's a mouse and he lives in the country. And then we know that Don also is a mouse and he lives in the city. Well, now I'm taking my setting color, and so country is one of my settings and city is another one of my settings. Notice what I did. I have country, well, lived in the country, I made it red, right? Because it gives me information about Jerome. But country is also the setting, and so I marked it in blue. Things can be double coded. Sometimes it could be triple coded. And we know that Don, he's a mouse, and he lives in the city. So I can draw an arrow there. All right, so we have these 2 mice, one in the country, one in the city. Jerome lived in a hole near a tree. That's more setting, right? So we have in a hole near a tree, and that goes back to Jerome. So Jerome lives in the country in a hole near a tree. So I'm going to write in my margins, Jerome equals country / tree. That's just for my memory. And it says, very pretty, Don said about the place. So many trees. And that's a nice farm next door. What do you do for fun? So let's go back. Don says the place is pretty And why is it pretty? Because of the trees. So I can now say I have more information about Don. Don, he likes nature. Now, why would I write he likes nature? One of the questions could be, tell us something about Don. Don likes nature. Well, there's no one sentence in this paragraph that says Don likes nature. But I do have context clues and I can make inferences. Don likes trees and he likes nature because, look, he said it was very pretty, so he gave a compliment. And why was he giving a compliment? Because it's a very pretty place because of the many trees. So the high amount of nature is what's making it very pretty, so that we can now draw the conclusion that Don values or likes nature. And that's a nice farm next door. What do you do for fun? So what are some things we know about Don? We know Don, he is nice. We know that he is observant. And we know that he is curious. Does that make sense? We're just drawing inferences about what we've learned. So to answer the question, Jerome says, I take walks and look for big kernels of corn. So now we know more information about Jerome. Jerome, he lives in the country in a hole near a tree and he takes walks. And he likes looking for big kernels of corn. Not that interesting, Don said. So now Don has a negative opinion about how Jerome spends his time. He is not impressed, even though he likes nature. At dinner, Don was disappointed. So let's take our character color again. So now he says it's not that interesting. He's disappointed. Things are changing. So that's called a shift. He was excited here. It was super positive, but now not so excited here, and things have shifted to a negative state. At dinner, Don was disappointed. All that they had to eat was dried corn. Okay? I collected those last month, said Jerome. Now they're really tasty because when they dry out, the flavor gets bigger. So now let's see what we know about Jerome. Jerome, he collected some dried corn. He says, I collected those last month. He really likes it because now he knows that when they dry out, the flavor gets bigger. So now what can we say we know about Jerome? He lives in the country in a hole near a tree. He likes to take walks. He loves corn. And he likes to plan ahead. How do I know he likes to plan ahead? Because he said, I collected those last month. Okay? So he plans ahead. Now, let's just talk about what we've done. We've only read, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've read 10 sentences. But in these 10 sentences, we now have enough information that if we wanted to, we could write a compare and contrast piece of literature just about John, that's not his name, about Don and Jerome. Think about the things that we know. Okay? So we have Don and we have Jerome. Just in these 10 sentences, but we've made a lot of inferences. Okay, so we know Jerome lives in the country, which means that Don must live in the city. We know Don likes nature, but we can say that Jerome loves nature. Okay? Don is very curious, and he likes excitement. Jerome is happy and proud. Okay? We could take these things here and we can turn them into literary analysis, which is when we write about literature. And now notice we've taken information about the character. We have a little bit of the plot. Now let's go back and see, did we have any conflict? We have conflict. It says here, at dinner, Don was disappointed. That is conflict. Now, I've already circled this in red because it talks about the character, but this is also conflict because he had an expectation that was not met. Okay? Do we have any more conflict? And so he ate the dried corn, and he really didn't like them, but we know that Jerome liked them. He says, look, Don said, okay, but not as good as the food in my place. So once again, there's your conflict. But what can we say about Don? He likes to brag. Now, you can even say he's a little bit rude, because I wouldn't want a guest to come to my house and tell me the food at their house is better than the food at my house. You should visit me to find out what really great food we have. And it's not boring. Every day there are adventures. So he's using words like boring, adventures. So these are things that he values, right? So we're going to put a plus sign or a check mark. These are things that Don values. So Don values adventures, and he values things not being boring, which is implying that Jerome does not really know about adventures, and Jerome is boring. Now, you can continue to go through the text this way, but this is what engaging with text really means. It means you read a sentence or two, stop, break it down, analyze it, and go back. Read, stop, analyze, and go back. Don't forget to use your annotation symbols as well as your annotation colors. It truly depends on how much you're trying to get out of your literature, what you're trying to do. But I think with practice, you could use both annotations as well as color coding. See you on the next video.